Welcome to Tegan J Gaming. Today we're going to be going over why you should be playing Mutants and Masterminds, aka the superhero system. This is the one I came across late last year. I think after one of the Marvel movies. I can't remember which. And I'm like, I want to play a superhero game. And I was gonna look around like I could try to tweak 5e, but 5e like if it's heroic, it fits kind of that heroic feel, but it feels more fantasy heroic. I want knocking down buildings, crazy super heroics. So as my search, I came across Mutants and Masterminds and fell in love with it. It's been one of my favorite new systems, and I'm drinking the Kool Aid, and I'm trying to get everybody else to take a sip too. So this is going to be a video why you should be playing Mutants and Masterminds, and I've got 6 cool reasons why you should be playing Mutants and Masterminds with you and your crew. One of my favorites, and this is gonna go with this number one because it's probably like the least influential reason for a lot of people, but for me and probably some of the people who came up on D&D and Pathfinder and the D20 systems, it matters. It's a D20 system, so I got my little D20 here. The cool thing with this system too is it's just a D20 system. You don't need any other dice. You can just roll your D20 and that's all you need. Nothing else really comes along with it. Unless there's some special use cases I'm blanking on right now. Everything from your attack rolls to your saves to your skill checks, everything. D20. Simplistic, especially if you have somebody that doesn't have dice. You can just have like one, you bring your DM, bring your D20, and you can pass that D20 around, and you can play super easy. Inexpensive on that side. So that's, I call that, we can say that's 1 or 0. What's that reason 0? It's just something that was important to me and helped sway my decisions initially early. And maybe it'll mean something to you guys too. Maybe not, who knows? But let's dive into it. I'm going to pull it up too. So, hey, you guys can see the cool deluxe hero edition Mutants and Masterminds book on this side. So I'm going to be doing a video, probably my next video will be what books you actually need to run this game. So stay tuned for that. But definitely buy the deluxe heroes edition versus the basic one. We're going to go into that later. Way more accessible, way more features too. But for reason number one, the reason that I gotta like started looking for, and the reason why I think this should be so much bigger than it actually is superheroes are hot right now. The genre is huge, so that's reason number one. You can't go a couple months without seeing another Marvel movie or occasionally a DC movie, and there's just so much superhero content being put out there. It's a shame that Mutants and Masterminds and some of the other superhero systems aren't getting more of their spotlight in the TTRPG space, because a lot of people and kind of a lot of kids and myself included, when I wasn't kind of playing with my action figures for Star Wars or kind of imagining crazy Star Wars fights, I was imagining crazy superhero brawls and adventures. So I think that's a big piece in a lot of like geek culture and just a lot of like the whole space as a whole is that people want to be heroes, and people want to like not just be heroes in like a kind of traditional fantasy sense. They want to be superheroes, able to do ridiculous stuff, and this is a system built for being able to do ridiculous stuff and still be able to be a challenge. It's not like 5e where you're going to be overtuned and having to try to come up with threats that make sense. This is the system to go crazy in. So that's number one. The genre's huge. Superhero content's big. I wish that's been one of my complaints for Green Ronin, who makes Mutants and Masterminds, is I feel like they're not advertising enough. They're not really kind of going in too much to really kind of jump on that Marvel bandwagon, that superhero bandwagon. Now, speaking of jumping on bandwagons, one of the things I'm going to be doing with this channel is anytime that there's a big superhero movie that's out, whether it be a Marvel movie, DC movie, or independent, I'm going to use Mutants and Masterminds 3E to build that character. So stay tuned for that. And there's a couple reasons why. And actually, this leads perfectly into the next reason why. This system is the most versatile system I've ever come across in my days as a game master, dungeon master. There's so much you can do with this system, from the way you can build your PC to the types of games you can run with it. It's a Mutant Mastermind, and I call it a superhero system, but you could run pretty much any type of game with it. It's built for versatility. So if you wanted to build a low power noir game where it's more about detective work and kind of covering crimes and various mysteries, you could build that with this system and still have it function just as well if you wanted to build a high-powered Annihilator Silver Surfer style mission where you're kind of blasting through the solar system, fighting Galactus, fighting universal powers, and moving planets, and all that crazy, overpowered superhero stuff. So that's one of my favorite pieces. Is it's so balanced and so kind of built so uniquely that you can use it for such different styles of games. I've even said if you listen to the Dungeon Jedi Master podcast, which you should, and kind of a soft plug on that side, you could use this system to play Star Wars and it would play well too. So that's one of my biggest plugs. This is usually I've complained on this video. I've only had the channel for 2 videos, and I've already mentioned so many times people trying to break 5e into different ways it's not supposed to go. Mutants Masterminds is that rare system where it is moldable to different genres, different styles of play. So definitely utilize it. Utilize it for what it's initially meant for superheroes. But if you get bored of that and want to try something crazy with it, go crazy with it. It supports it. So that's reason number 2, versatility. Number 3, one of my favorite reasons, near and dear to my heart. If you guys know me from the Star Wars side, you're gonna get to know me on this channel, as I like a little bit of crunch, but I like to have a good narrative too. And this is probably the biggest system for narrative or crunch supporting narrative. It's crunchy. You get to go in and build the nitty gritty details of your hero and what their capabilities are. Like if you can fly to the moon in 6 seconds and around, you can build that into your PC. You can lift 100 tons and throw them. You can build that in too. And you got clear defined limits for what your PC can do power wise, and just kind of a stat wise, I should say. But it gives you those clear defined limits so you can go crazy and make some just insane narrative choices with it. You could there's so much you can do in so many different ways. You can get creative with your PC's power set with this, that the system encourages and builds along with it too. So while you have that kind of narrative or the crunch kind of giving you the definitions, you have, and kind of this is to me too, I feel like the crunch setting those boundaries, those definitions, makes it easier for you, not makes it better to be creative. Because a lot of times some of the narrative systems, and everybody always has that crunch versus narrative debate, and some of the more narrative ones, like to pick on a system I like, Powered by the Apocalypse Mass system, which is another superhero system. It's you get your set take powers of your choice, but it's super narrative. There's no limits or there's no defined limits on them, which is cool. But sometimes you can get some crazy or some fun creative scenarios with that. But to me, giving some boundaries, some definitions as a player and a GM, it just encourages that creativity and it gives you that starting point versus a blank room where you could draw just something ridiculous. This gives you that kind of like a little, it gives you like a little colored in pad and you get to make something really cool, but still within the boundaries and still feels like it's fair game and still has that tactile and tactical elements to it. So that's number 3. That's probably the one that's nearest to my heart. It's just how crunchy it is, but how much that crunch supports a very narrative system. Because if you ask me if it's a crunchy or narrative system, I would tell you it's a narrative system just supported by the crunch, which is cool. So that's number 3. Number 4, I'm going to hammer this one in. It's built for super heroic shenanigans. This is one where it's not going to feel like if you try to twist 5e into it where it just doesn't feel like it flows right. This flows right. This hits the right notes. This kind of goes the way it should for a super heroic system. So that's really one of the biggest reasons. We're gonna hammer this point home, but it's built for super heroics. It's got the powers, it's got the options, it's got the details in there that are going to support that and not make you have to homebrew a ridiculous amount, or just have a system where it just doesn't feel quite right. This hits that note. This feels right, and it kind of gives you that narrative satisfaction of playing a superhero game. But that's number 4. Last reason, this one's gonna sound counterintuitive at first, but it's easy to play. So one of the things, and I've even admitted it before too, and I tell my new players this as they start, creating a character your first time is going to be a little bit overwhelming. It's going to be a little bit tough. But once you create that first character, and once you create your character, it's very easy to play. We said you just use 1d20 to roll everything. So if you're rolling in person or even if you're rolling on a dice bot, it's d20s for all around. And it's just a very kind of streamlined, systematic approach to combat, their adventures, their skill rolls, and everything makes sense once you get that character created. The character creation, it takes a little bit to get used to. Once you make your first character or two, it'll be a blast. You'll kind of streamline through it. But that's definitely kind of the sticking point. But once it's created, super easy to play. And DMs, it's easy to run. There's going to be some more videos. 'Cause as I said before, probably my biggest complaint with Mutants and Masterminds is how little content is out there dedicated for the Dungeon Master, the Game Master. And that's something I'm going to be changing as time goes on. But once you get used to this system, once you get your flow, get kind of how it runs, it's going to be super easy for you to quickly pick it up and put a game into place. With this game, I run usually my average games are Star Wars 5e or heavily modified D&D 5e game, occasionally some other ones. And this is probably by far the easiest system I have to pick up and run. Usually what I do is I come up with a villain concept and then kind of quickly build off of that and some adventure scenarios and things like that. And you can quickly have it up and running, have an adventure, and have your players be able to come through and figure out what they want to do with it. So that's the 5 reasons, and I kind of run through one more time too, just so you kind of really emphasize what's home, or 6 reasons I should say, because one of them is a D20 system, which is cool to me. So D20 system, genre is huge. Superheroes are amazing. They're kind of big right now. They're really just dominating the space, and this is a great way to bring that into your table. Otherwise, there's number 2. There's so much versatility with the system. You can do anything with it. Any type of game will fit well with this system. Number 3, my favorite, and narrative supported by crunch. You've got that crunch there, you've got that backbone, you've got that the system handles, and you can go through and really make sure that they can fit your table. Number 4, it's built for it. So it's built to be a superhero system. It feels satisfying. 5, it's easy to play, easy to kind of learn and get up and running once you get that PC created. So those are the reasons. I hope this inspired you to say, hey, I want to get my superhero on and play Mutants and Masterminds. Or if you have a better superhero system, or not better, if you have a superhero system you prefer, put that in the comments. I love to see new systems, and that's my mission this year is to try new systems. So put that in the comments. I'd love to see what you're thinking on that side. But overall, I'm still thankful for you guys kind of tuning in and kind of checking out the new channel and still trying to figure out my sign off. Usually I go, may the force be with you at the end for my Dungeon Jedi Master stuff, but I'm not sure what I want to say yet for this channel. So for today, may the dice be with you.